Hello everyone. Well, for today's video, I went on my Tumblr and Facebook pages and asked what you guys would like to see me bake next. And the answer that got the most votes was banana pancakes. So that fit perfectly with the fact that I actually had some bananas that were just past the ideally ripe stage. So I decided it was a perfect thing to do. So today we're going to go through the steps of making banana pancakes. And the first thing is obviously bananas. So this is 2 medium-sized bananas, and I'm going to mash them up with a fork. And like I said, these are just past the perfectly ripe stage, which means they're very soft and easily mashed with a fork. When you're using bananas to make something like banana bread or banana pancakes, you usually want to use bananas that are very, very, very ripe, because that makes them much easier to work with. If you were using slightly green bananas, or even just turned yellow bananas, they would be very tough to mash like this. Okay. You don't want to overdo it, just enough to kind of liquefy it. And you want about a cup, so this is a little bit more than we actually need, so I won't put all of this in. So, first step is done. The next thing we need to do is get a bowl to mix all of our wet ingredients in. And that is, let me get my instructions here. Buttermilk, vanilla extract, and some melted butter that we are going to pour together along with 2 eggs. So let me put the eggs in first. It doesn't necessarily say that there's an order in which they are supposed to be put in. So one egg, two eggs, and then we need 2 cups of buttermilk. One, 2. And the instructions also say if you don't have buttermilk, you can also mix regular milk with vinegar. And that will help the milk kind of curdle a little bit, which is basically what buttermilk is. And then we want to add our bananas. So let me put in about a cup's worth of bananas. That should be good. Then we need 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. 1, 2. And as soon as you put in vanilla, you know it's going to taste great. And then we have 3 tablespoons of melted butter that has cooled down, like that. So that is all of the wet ingredients, and then we are just going to whisk them together. Make sure you break the egg yolks. And because of the bananas, this will not be a completely smooth mixture, and you don't want it to be, so you'll still have the banana lumps in there. And those will soften further in the liquid and then probably soften even further as you cook them. So if you have some larger chunks in there, I wouldn't worry about it. Okay, looks like we've gotten both of the egg yolks broken and everything is mixed together. So those are the wet ingredients. We'll put that to the side. And in this bowl, we'll put our dry ingredients together. And the dry ingredients are flour, 2½ cups of flour, a 1/4 cup of sugar, 3 teaspoons of baking powder, a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, and then a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And that is all the dry ingredients. So we'll just use a fork and mix these all together. Making sure they're thoroughly combined. Like that. Now, we want to add our dry ingredients and our wet ingredients together. Okay, so we have our dry ingredients and we have our wet ingredients we've just mixed together, and we're going to add our dry ingredients to the bowl of our wet ingredients. So let's move this over here. And I'm going to slowly add the dry here into the wet. Let's move these this way. There we go. So I'm going to mix them together with a wooden spoon. And just add it together a little at a time. I'm using about a 1/2 cup each time I add. And the instructions warn not to overmix it. And I know that on several of my other baking videos that I've been told I overmix my batter. So I'm going to try and not overmix. And just barely incorporate in the dry ingredients into the wet ingredients. So I figure I will mix less and less until someone says I'm undermixing. Then I will know I have gone too far. So like I said, I don't think the goal of this is to have completely smooth batter, because you already have the lumpiness of the bananas in it. So I think the goal is just to make sure that the flour is completely incorporated into it. Definitely getting stiffer now, looking much more like batter. See, the gluten in the flour is starting to activate. You're getting like those stretchy bands in the mixture, and I'm just going to add the rest of it in here. So it's quite stiff now. Definitely more like a cake batter. Scrape the sides here. You can definitely see those chunks of banana now floating in the mixture. Okay, now the recipe I'm following says to let this sit for about 5 minutes, and that will help the baking powder and the baking soda make this dough a little bit fluffier when we actually cook it. So we're going to pause, let this rest for 5 minutes, and then cook it. Okay? Okay, so we have our pan here. It's heating up to a medium heat, and we're going to put a little bit of butter in it so make sure it doesn't stick, and then cook our pancakes. I actually have just done this once, and I had the heat a little too high, and the butter was actually burning, and they were cooking too fast. So I have turned my stove down to the level of about 3. I had it on 5, and I think that was a little too hot. So we're going to try it here at this lower temperature, and just put a little bit of butter here, and hopefully the butter doesn't burn. And I have a 1/2 cup measure of the batter, and we're just going to put that down here. And it's very thick, which is a little worrisome to me, but we'll see how it goes. I don't think these are going to come out as perfect circle pancakes, but I will try as best I can. But with cooking, especially pancakes for breakfast, I don't know that absolute perfection is required. That batter is very sticky. Okay. So these seem to be doing a little bit better than the other ones. And we're just going to let this cook, and once we start to see the batter bubble up a little bit around the edges and kind of dry out a bit, then we're going to know it's time to flip it. And these should puff up and make really nice fluffy pancakes. So now it's just a waiting game. Okay, so this is cooked. The butter has stopped bubbling, and the batter around the edges has started to bubble a little bit. So I believe that it is time to try to flip it. Okay, so we have a nice little burn baking pattern here. And now we need to let the other side slowly heat up and make sure that it is cooked all the way through. One of the problems with having nice fluffy pancakes is oftentimes the middle doesn't get cooked as well. So we're going to make sure we leave this on here enough for the middle to cook thoroughly. Okay, I can see some brown right around the edge here, and let's see how this one looks. Okay, very nice. Brown on both sides, and definitely a nice thick pancake. Very fluffy. So let's make a few more. Add just a little bit of butter. And put in our batter. And I may actually turn my stove down to around 2, because it seems like the butter is smoking a little bit, and so it may actually be a little even too hot and maybe cooking the pancakes too fast. Yeah, see, that's a little darker than I really like. So I think turning this down to low actually be the better for this stove, because every stove cooks a little bit differently, and so you have to adjust your settings. Okay, I'm going to take this one off because I believe that it is cooked through on both sides, but it is still raw in the middle, so that one didn't work out very well. So I'm going to let this cool a little bit, and then I'm going to cook a few more, and then I will continue the video with showing you what they look like with syrup on them. Okay? So our final pancake has finished cooking, and we are going to transfer it to the plate. So here is our final 3 pancakes. As you can see, they are extremely fluffy. And now we're going to see how they taste. So put some butter there in the middle. Put some butter here on the top. Let that melt. And then for our final touch, we add the syrup. And I like lots of syrup on my pancakes, especially for big fluffy ones like this. So if you're making pancakes, you're not making them for health food purposes, so don't be afraid to drown them in syrup and butter. As long as you don't eat them every day, you should be fine. So now let's see what they taste like. These are definitely huge pancakes. Those are very nice. Very fluffy. I finally worked out the temperature to cook them on, which was definitely just a little bit above low temperature for my stove. Anything above that, and they were cooking too fast on the outside and were being raw in the middle. And the thing I like about pancakes is you're making more than one, so you can adjust as you go along. With a regular cake, if you don't get it right, you mess up the whole thing. With pancakes, you can adjust the temperature and the settings and how you work with it from pancake to pancake. The bananas are excellent in this. I think I may have a new favorite type of pancake. Very good. And I'm using 100% pure maple syrup, which is really nice. Sometimes some of the more commercial syrups can be so sweet with high fructose corn syrup that they really take away from the flavor of everything else. This has a very mild sweet flavor to it and a nice strong maple syrup flavor to it. So I would highly recommend that with these pancakes. I think it goes really well. And you could also add, slices of banana or chocolate chips or whatever you wanted to make this a taste treat. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I've definitely enjoyed making them and definitely enjoyed tasting them. So please subscribe to my channel. I have many more videos for you guys, and thank you for the people who suggested that I do this for a video. It was delicious. So I'll see you guys later. Thanks.